2 presiding.
All right, please be seated. Okay, is counsel ready for the jury? All right. Okay, Deputy, you may bring the jury in. All right, please be seated. Members of the jury, have you arrived at a verdict? Okay. Will the deputy please retrieve the verdict forms and provide it to me for review? Would Ms. Potter please rise? I'm now going to read your verdicts as it will appear in the permanent court records of Hennepin County. In the matter of State of Minnesota versus Kimberly Potter, court file number 27 CR 21 7490, we, the jury, on the charge of manslaughter in the first degree while committing a misdemeanor on or about April 11, 2021, in Hennepin County, State of Minnesota, find the defendant guilty. And the verdict was agreed to at the hour of 11:40 a.m. and signed by the jury person on 12/23/21. The verdict on count 2 is we, the jury, on the charge of manslaughter in the second degree, culpable negligence on or about April 11, 2021, in Hennepin County, State of Minnesota, find the defendant guilty. And that verdict was agreed to at 10:30 a.m. on 12/21/21. Members of the jury, is this your true and correct verdict? So say you one, and so say you all.
Yes.
Okay, you may be seated. All right, I am now going to poll the jury. Juror number 2, is this your true and correct verdict?
It is.
Juror number 6, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes, it is.
Juror number 7, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes, it is.
Juror number 13, is this your true and correct verdict? Oh, it's juror 11. And juror 17, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 19, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 21, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 22, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 26, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 40, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 48, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
And juror number 55, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes, it is.
Members of the jury, when you first came into the courtroom, I told you that jurors are the heroes of our judicial system. Well, the 12 of you are our heroes in this case. You might remember that there was a question on the questionnaire that asked whether you wanted to be on this jury. You were to check yes, no, or maybe. A number of you checked no or not sure, and a few of you checked all three. But when I asked each of you if you would be willing to serve if the party selected you as a juror, you all said yes. You said yes even though we are in a pandemic with Omicron spreading in our community. You said yes even though you had concerns about serving given the nature of the case. You said yes even though you knew you would be sequestered during deliberations and away from your loved ones. And you said yes even though there was a chance that this case could have lasted past Christmas. You were willing to sacrifice much because you believed in our justice system. And then you went into deliberations, and each of you brought with you your common sense, individual perceptions, and life experiences, and you came to an agreement on the verdicts. You did your duty. I'm so proud of you. You should be proud of yourselves. Without civic-minded citizens like you, our system of justice could not function. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifices. I wish you all a wonderful holiday season, and may the peace and beauty of the season be yours throughout the year. At this time, I'd like you to go into your waiting courtroom, and I'll be in just a moment. I'd like to thank you personally and to answer any questions that you have. Okay? Okay, please be seated. All right. Council, we have to pick a date tentatively for sentencing. So for in custody, we'll be taking Ms. Potter into custody and holding without bail. So what is 3 weeks out? I think we probably want to do a tier 4.
So we will be looking at January 13th or 14th. We can do 11:30 on either day.
For sentencing?
For sentencing.
Your Honor, a pre-sentence report?
Yes, I'm having a PSI report done.
We are not available on the 13th. I believe we could do the 14th.
I'm in trial the week after that, and it
does seem to be a little accelerated given the seriousness of the decisions you're about to make. So later in January would be our preference. We also would like to talk about the bail issue with you before you decide it, before you make a decision to take her in.
All right, I'll hear you out.
Go ahead, no. Well,
You know, I think it'd be easier for the court reporter if you went to the podium.
We both say a little bit, Judge.
Yes.
Well, there hasn't been a motion. I anticipate they would file a motion, but this arguendo, they're going to file a motion to revoke her bail. We will be filing a motion for dispositional departure on the case. She is amenable to probation. Her remorse and regret for the incident is overwhelming. She's not a danger to the public whatsoever. She has made all her court appearances, including all appearances in the court. It is the Christmas holiday season. She is a devoted Catholic, no less, and there is no point to incarcerate her at this point in time because A, you haven't decided what the sentence is going to be. B, the dispositional departure arguments are quite strong on this case. And C, it's not necessary for the preservation of public safety. So for those reasons, she need not be incarcerated whatsoever pending sentencing. You certainly can do it after sentencing, but this is a rather unique case of someone who has law enforcement experience and was never in trouble all her life and is 49, which is beyond the age of most defendants that you see. Plus she has deep roots in the community and her family's here, and there's no evidence that she would flee. So we respectfully ask you to change your mind as to whether she needs to be incarcerated right now. I know Mr. Gray has a couple comments too.
Your Honor, her bail right now is $100,000. She's got that posted. She's not going to run. She obviously is not going to commit any more crimes. She's been convicted of an accident. She's been convicted of being reckless. I just would like to be able to, with Paul, file a motion for dispositional departure in this case. I think there's other facts that didn't come to light during the trial that are important also about Kim Potter and about this case. So I respectfully request that you release her on her $100,000 bail, and that'll make it easier to do the pre-sentence report. We'll get people sending letters on her behalf. And I would ask for a sentencing sometime after, if you release her, sometime. I start a trial January 20th. It should be over by February 20th, I hope, sometime in late February. And ask that my gosh, she's got a $100,000 bail up, Judge. But, she's not going to commit another crime. She's not going anywhere. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Frank.
Thank you, Your Honor. We do request that the defendant be taken into custody. The convictions here are for manslaughter in the first degree, manslaughter in the second degree, based on the death of Daunte Wright, a young man. In other words, it's a case that involves a death. They are very serious charges. It is customary for defendants to be taken into custody upon a guilty verdicts for those level of crimes, and we don't think this case should be any differently. Your Honor, we also have learned that the defendant is not living in the state. I don't know if that was known and provided for in the original conditions of release, but it presents obviously an aggravating factor for allowing her to remain out of custody. So we are requesting that the state remand her into custody and withdraw any bail or conditions of release. Your Honor, we do have the Blakely issue to resolve, and we would be asking some direction from the court on whether we should submit written arguments or proposed findings, or how the court exactly wants to address that. It would be good to have those findings, of course, for the actual sentencing hearing, and we would request a PSI as well.
Judge, may I respond?
Yes.
It's a serious crime, I understand that, but both of those crimes, there's no intent, no criminal intent. It's reckless and culpable negligence. many times in my career, I've had defendants convicted of culpable negligence. I don't think I've ever had a reckless one, but it's an unintentional crime by somebody with a clear record. And we have a strong basis for dispositional departure. I ask the court to release her on the bail. She surely will reappear.
Okay. The presumptive sentences in this case are commits, and I am going to require that she be taken into custody and held without bail. And I recognize your arguments, Mr. Ng and Mr. Gray, but I cannot treat this case any differently than any other case. So, I think we should probably set briefing deadlines. I know that the defense would like to make a written motion for dispositional departure, and the state has the argument concerning aggravating Blakely factors that we should be briefing. How much time does the defense need to put in their motion for dispositional departure?
At least 1 month. We're backed up. Both of us are backed up on trials right now. I start one on the 20th as well.
Okay.
So at least 1 month from at the end of January would be preferable.
Okay. Pick a date in January, and I'll give the state what they need to respond.
Well, the January 31st then.
January
Yes.
31st, that's a Monday.
Okay. And how long would the state like to respond to the motion, the sentencing motion?
Could we have 2 weeks, Your Honor?
You may, and that date would be, Zach?
February 14th.
Okay. And Mr. Frank, I think that the aggravating factors, we did the Blakely on a unitary basis, so no further evidence would be required, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
So could you submit your brief on the aggravating factors? How much time do you need on that?
2 weeks, Your Honor?
Okay. And the defense would need until... Okay. And Mr. Kramer, could you tell them what the dates are?
Why don't we do them all on the 31st then? You might as well have an omnibus submission for the defense.
Okay. Do you want to do them simultaneously on the 31st?
That's fine, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So, you want sentencing pushed back to February? All right, because both of you... Late February. All right, let's pick a date.
We could do any time in the morning on February 23rd.
Well, I know I'm in trial on the 20th too. I mean, all these cases were backed up because of this one. So late the week after that would be great.
Okay. That'll push us to the first week of March. How about 9 a.m. on March 1st?
Okay.
What day of the week?
That's a Tuesday.
That would work.
Your Honor, the state's not available that week.
Okay.
Okay. About do March 8th at 9 a.m.
I'm sorry.
March 8th at 9 a.m.
We all have a state trial that week in March. If we could move it up a week in February, would be better. Please?
So the first week of March, Mr. Frank?
I'm saying like the third week of February.
Okay. Well, we could do it February 18th at 9 a.m.
That's fine.
Tuesday,
That is a Friday.
What day, Paul?
February 18th.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
February 18th, Judge.
Thank you. All right, is there anything else we need to put on the record?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you, counsel.
Love you, Kim.
Daunte Wright! Say his name! Say his name! Daunte Wright!
Minneapolis and in the state of Minnesota. Period.
I ain't even bring one.
22 hours away.
Hey, this group got me warmed up.
The people united. The people united. Will never be defeated. The people united. Will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you all for tuning in. This is Nico from Unicorn Riot. We are watching a live feed from downtown Minneapolis right now. You can also still hear the audio. I'm going to click that off. You just witnessed Kim Potter found guilty on both counts, first and second degree manslaughter. You hear that there might be a Blakely notice with aggravated sentencing. You hear that she was remanded to custody, and she has sentencing set in February 18th. So she will be in custody over the holidays. And Kim Potter is now a convicted felon, convicted of first and second degree manslaughter. Again, the sentencing will be February 18th, 2022. And again, this is Unicorn Riot that you're witnessing. This is a feed from the courts that you're also watching. This is not our feed. So this is a feed from the courts, and we will bring you this live stream of a potential press conference that's about to happen. So again, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in throughout this trial. It's been a long one, 16, 17 days. The jury deliberated for about 28 hours, and they came to the conclusion, a unanimous consensus conclusion, that Kim Potter was found guilty on both first and second degree counts. So we will see what happens with the sentencing in 2 months from now. Daunte Wright's family, you could see them outside the courtroom. Some of his family members, including his brother, very elated at the news that they have some kind of semblance of judicial justice in this case. This is one of only quite a small handful of numbers of police officers in Minnesota that have been found guilty for a crime in their work after killing somebody. And so again, Daunte Wright was killed April 11, 2021. It led to, a week or so of sort of an uprising, prolonged protests in the middle of the George Floyd death trial, the trial of Derek Chauvin that was happening just a mile or two away. That's when Daunte Wright was killed in the middle of the day. We saw testimony throughout this trial from both sides. We heard from his mom and his dad starting and closing out the state's witnesses. We heard the state also bring up three witnesses at least that were part of Kim Potter's police family that all don't work for Brooklyn Center Police Department anymore. They all sort of went against the state in a lot of different ways. The state tried to impeach Sergeant Michael Johnson's testimony. The state also brought up all these other aggravating incidences, how the people who were hit in the car that Daunte Wright drove into them after he got shot, their life has not been the same, how it affected this person and that person. And so especially Elena, who was Daunte's passenger, how it's affected Daunte's family. These aggravating factors are likely to possibly add on some more time to Kim Potter's sentencing. We'll see what happens with her sentencing. Again, we have the audio blanked out of the court feed right now. This is not our feed. This is Court TV's feed. They're feeding us from inside of the Hennepin County Government Center. What you're looking at is a hallway down in the main floor, second floor of the Hennepin County Government Center, where a press conference is about to take place. And I'm guessing it'll be a press conference headed by Keith Ellison, the Minnesota Attorney General, or it'll be the defense attorneys speaking, or we might hear from both. You heard at the end of the court proceedings today, Kim Potter's husband screamed out, "Love you, Kim." He's been in trial every single day, from my understanding. Him, as well as possibly her mother and her brother. So there's 3 seats in each side. Kim Potter's side has 3 seats. Daunte Wright's side has 3 seats. And they also have overflow room to check out the court proceedings, as COVID has restricted the amount of people that can be inside the court. So here we are. Again, we are looking straight at the press conference that is most likely about to start happening very shortly there at the Hennepin County Government Center. The courtroom that they were having the trial in was the same exact courtroom that Derek Chauvin was found guilty in, and it's equipped with the cameras. Televising court hearings as trials has not been a norm. COVID has brought that on. Thankfully, in a lot of ways, it's provided a lot more transparency for the public to view these proceedings. And that might have changed the way that they lay out. We don't know. But what's evident is that we are able to see how they go through this whole process, mostly transparent. The only times really not transparent is when the judge is having, the legal teams back in the chambers, or when they're doing sidebars. But essentially, besides from that, we were able to see the whole jury selection, how they questioned the jurors, what even they had on the jury questionnaire. We were able to see all of that. And that has been essentially, in Minnesota in general, not a thing that we were always, as a public, able to get. There's never been televised court cases in this sense. And so, again, George Floyd's death at the knee of Derek Chauvin, an ex-police officer now serving prison time for murdering George Floyd, along with coronavirus pandemic and the restrictions needed to stop the spread of coronavirus, that has allowed transparency for these higher court cases. Now, again, in the beginning of this court case, there was not a specific ruling to have this be videotaped or live streamed to the public. In the beginning, Judge Chu said that the public didn't need to see it. It wasn't that big of a case. It wasn't as high profile as George Floyd. There wasn't restrictions needed. And so therefore it wasn't going to be televised. There was a lot of pushback, and there was a media consortium of large corporate media installations that were collaborating with each other. They made a motion similar to some of the media consortiums that you see when there's a high profile case and they're asking the judge for specific access to that case, right? And so this is what happened with the Judge Chu and Daunte Wright's death in this Kim Potter trial, where Judge Chu originally was like, no, we're not going to have it televised. The pushback from the media consortium, the motions that were made to say that you need to have transparency, then there was a protest. That protest, we have a piece on that. Actually, you know what? We'll roll that in a minute. While we're talking about it, we'll bring it up. While we're bringing it up, we'll talk about it a little bit more. Again, early November, there was a small protest outside of the Judge Chu's residence. And while people had gathered outside of her residence, there was actually one person who went inside the residence and is now facing charges for tampering. And so that's Cortez Rice. And we think, he might be away for a while. It seemed like the police were, sort of looking for him for a while anyways, in a way, you could say, because of his activism. Very active, very helping with a lot of the families of stolen lives, of police victims. And within that, he was George Floyd's friend and knew George Floyd. He became fodder for the right wing who, came out after him, specifically after that live stream. But beyond that, Cortez, from what we know, is still incarcerated and waiting for his time to come before a judge. Now, the the reason I bring it up is because there was a protest outside the house that I'm talking about, and this protest actually 2 days, 3 days later, the judge actually changed her mind and ruled that they should be able to have video. And so essentially, a lot of people say that the judge had already made up her mind and already knowing that, look, we're going to change the decision, and we're going to change I'm going to reverse my ruling and allow cameras. But that wasn't publicly announced until 2 or 3 days after the specific protest outside of Judge Chu's residence. And so, again, that is not our people standing here. I'm going to get you all a different view of what's happening here so you all can see this protest that happened alongside of what we're about to witness, which is a press conference very shortly. That press conference, I'm guessing, will be happening within 10-15 minutes. In the meantime, what we're going to show you is a double screen, and this double screen will have the specific video from that protest that I speak of, as well as this potential press conference that's coming up. So we'll get
We
you
are
the screen right
demanding
here.
accountability, transparency, and justice for Daunte Wright. To get those three things, we demand that we get cameras and live streamers in the courtroom. Kim Potter goes on trial the 30th of November. Judge Regina Chu says that there should be no cameras and there will be no live streamers allowed in the courtroom. What are they trying to hide? If they believe that there is going to be justice had in that courtroom, let us see it.
That's right.
Let us watch it. Let us be at home on the couch, chilling, feet up, demanding and praying that we get the justice that Daunte so rightfully deserves.
That's right.
Let us see it. Let us hear it. Let us watch it. Getting the justice that he so rightfully deserves. Because we all know what happened was murder. We all know that Daunte is no longer with us. And we all know that that was not right. So the only way for justice to be had in that courtroom.
So again, this is not live right now. You are not watching live stream. This is a protest outside of the judge's residence about 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, that led to the recording of the video for all of us to see. The video from the trial, excuse me.
Can y'all say that after me? Say, let us see it!
Let us see it!
Let us see it!
Let us see it!
Let us hear it!
Let us hear it!
Daunte Wright!
Daunte Wright! Daunte Wright! Daunte Wright!
Yeah, you can talk to
Daunte Wright! Daunte Wright!
That's who you can talk to. Regina Chu.
We demand transparency, we demand accountability, and the way that we can get that is by having cameras in the courtroom, by having live streamers in the courtroom. If they believe that that courtroom will give Daunte Wright justice, then they will give us the accountability. They will show us what happens in that courtroom. Instead of hiding it for themselves, let the world see. Let the world see. If this justice system is supposed to give people justice, then let us see the justice that you are trying to give.
Shut it down! 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 Shut it down!
Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down!
When I say what do we want, you say justice. What do we want?
Justice!
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
When I say what do we want, we say transparency. What do we want?
Transparency!
When do we want it?
Now!
That was a brief brief video of what was happening at the protest outside of outside of Judge Chu's residence on November 6th, I believe, which was about 3 days before the official ruling was announced that cameras and audio would be allowed in the courtroom. You're looking at a live view from the Hennepin County Government Center hallway where a podium is set up, microphones are set up. There's going to be a press conference very shortly at this podium, and we don't know specifically if it'll be from the state or the defense, guessing from the state. This is a feed coming from Court TV that they piped into the internet for the transparency's sake of the trial. And so again, that's why we showed that small video clip of the protest, because that protest actually, some say it led to the specific ruling. Some say Judge Chu had already decided to change her ruling and to allow cameras and audio in the courtroom. But nevertheless, that protest happened. And also, as I brought up, there was Cortez Rice was arrested from that protest for tampering with the trial. They say alleged tampering. He went up to into the residence building and was live streaming allegedly. And so he will tell you that he didn't know that, that was specifically her place, and he was just walking around the area. Either way, Kim Potter has been found guilty on first and second degree manslaughter. Her sentencing is set for February 18th, 2022. And again, we saw the litany. If you watched the trial, if you didn't watch the trial, I'll give you a quick recap again. There was numerous witnesses from the state that brought up a lot of police officers. They brought in they started with Katie Wright. They brought in the girlfriend or the person who was the passenger in the car with Daunte Wright. They brought in the people who were impacted in Brooklyn Center directly from the crash. They brought in the neighbor. They brought in other police officers. So Officer Lucky, who did the original pullover, Alan Salvosa, quite a few other officers that were sort of part of Kim Potter's police family as we continue to see throughout the trial. Again, her husband, Jeff Potter, was a police officer for Fridley for about 26, 27 years. She was a police officer for 26 years in Brooklyn Center. Her husband was a literal taser trainer. So, and she was a training officer. She was training Anthony Lucky at the time of her killing Daunte Wright. And so Lucky was one of the several police officers that testified. And then the defense brought on their expert witnesses that specifically talked about why Kim Potter was not justified in shooting Daunte Wright, even tasing Daunte Wright, how she wasn't justified, whereas three other people from the state witnesses literally had said that she was justified. That was Tim Gannon, that was Garrett Flesland, and Michael Johnson. They all three said that she was justified in her actions. Tim Gannon, who was the specific police chief, was basically asked to resign after that. He is, I think, working for what did they say? Working for some kind of police agency or something, but not a police officer anymore. Michael Johnson moved on to be a county sheriff, a major in a sheriff's department up north, I believe, and Flesland is somewhere else, I believe. And so within that, they brought Aubrey Wright as the last person to do the Spark of Life testimony, is what it was called. Aubrey Wright is Daunte's father. He spoke about Daunte. And then the defense brought up their witnesses. They brought up specifically character witnesses that testified to Kim's character, one of her neighbors who had known her since she was a kid, and a few other folks. And then they brought up their defense experts. And then they also, that actually drew some ire of a lot of people. One of their defense experts was an arms dealer on this Nazi arms dealing website, or a website that was named after a Nazi gun. And so Like that came out during the middle of his testimony, sort of like more information about him. He was also on the witness list in the Derek Chauvin trial. Earl Graves, the defense attorney, along with Paul Ing, and I think Amanda McMillan. There was somebody also in the back that was doing a lot of things, but we never heard from her. Earl Gray is renowned, sort of a police attorney, defense attorney for police officers in the local area, Twin Cities area, and he had also represented Geronimo Yanez in the killing of Philando Castile and got him off. And he had also brought up a lot of times how Yanez had smelled weed, and that sort of led him to kill Philando and feel unsafe. And that was brought up so many times in this trial, how Daunte Wright might have had some weed in the car, and how they smoked a joint in the morning. You heard a lot from Earl Gray, and you got to see sort of some of his personality. You saw him putting his head down a lot during the announcement today as well. So again, after that, Kim Potter took the stand. So if you haven't seen Kim Potter's testimony, that was a lot of people, like in the community and in the legal sphere, have mixed reactions from it. Personally, I thought it was a very bad testimony for her. Like it really looked bad in a lot of ways. The state seemed to really get at her. Like Aaron Eldridge, who was assistant attorney general and was the lead questioner of Kim Potter during that time, and was pretty much, her and Matthew Frank were the two leads on this case. Matthew Frank was the lead for the Minnesota Attorney General's office. He's assistant attorney general. The real attorney, or the main attorney general, is Keith Ellison. Keith Ellison took the case from Mike Freeman. Ellison didn't really try this case. But again, Matthew Frank was the lead prosecutor. Aaron Eldridge was basically the second, and Joshua Larson was basically the third. And you heard a little bit from Larson, but Aaron Eldridge was the one questioning Kim Potter when she was testifying, and that was quite the scene. If you haven't seen that, check out our YouTube or our Facebook, where we have it, and also we have it on our landing page, Kim Potter Trial, on our website. So it looks like this specific press conference will be happening at some point soon. We're gonna just chill here for a minute, let it come to us. In the meantime, I'll try to pull up some clips for us to roll. Before that, though, just show you all our website. If you are not in tuned to our website, check it out here. They're just moving the camera, don't worry. There's still nobody down at the thing, at the press conference. Here's our website. We got a new piece out. Oh man, it's such a troubling case. Elisa Gomez was basically killed the day of her wedding day, and a new story about that. That was 5 years ago. Her family has just written a letter to talk about Attorney General, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, and the President Joe Biden, asking for a new investigation. And the Minneapolis police have sort of investigated her death as a suicide, passed that information on to the medical examiner's office. They figured out the specific, like, how she died, but they didn't figure out a cause of death. Like, she had ligature marks. They didn't figure out a cause of death. And so therefore no charges were then brought from the Hennepin County Attorney's Office. And so their family has lost faith in all three of those entities, and they're asking for a new investigation. If you look at the root of the problem, it lies with the Minneapolis police in not investigating it properly, people say. And so she had just got married 12 hours before she ended up dead. And the person she got married to was 17 years younger than her, and had already had very violent past. That's a new story up. Target Supremacy, the sixth in a series, contributed by Marjan Surder. Marjan has been covering the Target. They're sort of public-private partnerships with local authorities in Minneapolis, and surveillance and the like. And it's just a very deep series happening right there. That is part 6 that you see in the middle, Target Supremacy. Then we got a piece from out in Brazil where President Bolsonaro was found guilty of crimes against humanity, along with 78 others who were proposed to be indicted for their mishandling of the coronavirus pandemic. That was from a contributor, Imichi Thug, out in Brazil. And then we have some other ones that are up from outside the courtroom as folks had gathered to show love for Daunte Wright's family. And then also a KARE 11 piece, a piece on Alan Diddy. I shouldn't say a KARE 11 piece. Alan Diddy was a city worker who sort of blew the whistle on a proposed eviction of a protest encampment outside of the 4th precinct in 2015 after Jamar Clark was killed by police. And he was outed by KARE 11, and then the police used an administrative subpoena on him, outed him, identified him, fired him, and he killed himself. And so that's a very troubling story. Sam Richards, a contributor, has been following that for a long time. And so check that out. And then we have some other stories. So continue to follow our work at unicornriot.ninja. That's where you find our work. And you see right here is the continual live feed right now. And this live feed will be piping in a press conference very shortly, from my understanding. In the meantime, we're going to play a clip from, we were just talking about the art outside the courtroom. We're going to roll that.
We had people all day today write notes or draw and hang them up for people to see, but then we're collecting them all, putting them in a binder, and gifting them to the family to show solidarity. Today is Janelle Austin, one of the founders of the George Floyd Global Memorial, and I's birthday. We realized recently that we had the same birthday, and it also coincided with the beginning of the trial, so we wanted to do something as a gift from us to the family. So as Janelle always says, every piece is, sacred. It doesn't matter if it's a child that scribbled some circles. It means something. It's part of, wanting to give love to the family. And so, we do see each of these as being very sacred.
What is maybe the most touching thing that you've seen up here so far today?
Honestly, it's like the children that just came up and drew some scribbles and then made sure that their name, like this little kid didn't know how to spell his own name, but he tried to guide me through it, so it was like on there because he was like, that's from me, I don't care if it didn't say a thing, it just had some scribbles. That meant the world, I think.
Here we go.
And it looks like folks are coming to, you can see Aubrey and Katie, Daunte's parents, in the background. You see Joshua Larson, there's Keith Ellison, and it will be the state doing a press conference, and that will happen very shortly.
Where's Aaron? Oh, I don't know. They got a light right here. Raul? Where's Raul? There it is. Okay, great. Okay, come on.
Katie, I'll be here. Come right up here with me. Yeah. Come on, guys. Oh, how do you feel? Come on, come on. Where's Matt? Would you like to come over here? Come on, person. Hello, everybody. My name is Keith Ellison. I'm the Attorney General for the state of Minnesota. At this moment, I ask us all to reflect upon the life of Daunte Wright and who he could have been had he had a chance to grow up. At 20, Daunte could have done anything. Maybe he could have gone into the building trades. Maybe he could have started a business. What we know is that he was a young, new dad, and he was so proud of his son, Daunte Jr.
We know that he loved his mom, and he loved his dad, and he loved his siblings, and his big, beautiful family. He had his whole life in front of him, and he could have become anyone. All of us miss out on who Daunte could have been. And no one has missed him more than his parents, Katie and Aubrey, and their children. I'm very mindful today that there will be an empty chair at the Wright family dinner during the holidays, and that saddens me. And once again, I extend my deepest condolences to you. With the jury finding Kimberly Potter guilty today of manslaughter in the first degree and manslaughter in the second degree in connection with Daunte's death, we have a degree of accountability for Daunte's death. Accountability is not justice. Justice is restoration. Justice would be restoring Daunte to life and making the Wright family whole again. Justice is beyond the reach that we have in this life for Daunte. But accountability is an important step, a critical, necessary step on the road to justice for us all. I want to thank the jury for their careful attention and deliberation and for their service to the people of Minnesota. I want to thank all of the witnesses who testified and who came forward with what they knew about this case. I especially want to thank my remarkable team. When I took this case, I said it would be difficult to prosecute because history has shown that trying cases like this one is difficult. This team did not shy away from the challenge, and the people of Hennepin County and the American people and the people of Minnesota, what they saw in the courtroom was the fruit of many, many hours of labor and hard work and planning. From my office, I want to thank specifically Mr. Matthew Frank. I want to thank Aaron Eldridge. I want to thank Eric Miller and David Voigt and Dion Dodd. But this team wouldn't be much of anything if it were not for the amazing work of Joshua Larson, Raul Shaw, and Vernona Boswell. Thank you, Vernona. I also must thank colleagues who did not work on the legal matter, but worked on the community, and that is John Stiles, Keon Dostey, and everyone. So thank you to you all for your hard work. I also want to thank the many staff at the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension who worked on this case, the staff of the Hennepin County Attorney's Office and Washington County Attorney's Office. Specifically, I want to thank Mr. Drew Evans and those who testified in this case, like Agent Phil, who did a fine job and who put in many long hours. We appreciate their service. The next step in this case is sentencing. And all I will say about that today is that we have to look forward to the court setting a calendar date for that hearing, and at that time we will make our appropriate arguments within the context of the court hearing. I think we have a date, do we not? What is that one? Anybody remember the date? March 8th. My thoughts are also with Ms. Potter today. She has gone from being an esteemed member of the community and an honored member of a noble profession to being convicted of a serious crime. I don't wish that on anyone, but it was our responsibility as the prosecution, as ministers of justice, to pursue justice wherever it led, and the jury found the facts. My thoughts are also with those who work in law enforcement and public safety. We hold you in high regard, and we also hold you to high standards. We don't want you to be discouraged. Your community respects and appreciates you. We want you to uphold the highest ideals of our society and ideals of safety. And when a member of your profession is held accountable, it does not diminish you. In fact, it shows. It shows the whole world that those of you who enforce the law are also willing to live by it. And that's a good thing. It restores trust, faith, and hope. Well, in the words of Danielle Surratt is a noted author who writes on justice issues. Justice exists when all parties exercise their power in a way that is consistent with the humanity of everyone involved and in the interests of the greater good. The humanity of everyone involved includes the humanity of community members and includes the humanity of police officers. And when that standard of justice is not upheld, it must be the job of a prosecutor to step up and then step in and attempt to uphold it and uphold the principle that no one is above the law and no one is beneath the law. Finally, my thoughts are with community of Brooklyn Center, residents, elected officials, and police officers, and all communities that hunger for a better relations between police and community, and for everyone to get home safe at the end of the day. I hope today's verdict provides a measure of healing for all of them. I thank you, and we can take a question or two.
Cheryl, since this dragged on to the 27th hour, what was going through your mind and the prosecution team?
That the jury was taking this seriously, that they were going through every bit of evidence, that they were not leaving anything to the side, and that they understood that this matter was of tremendous importance to the Wright family, but also to the Potter family, to the entire community. So I thank them for their service.
Are you guys taking questions?
Let's get Storms. They want questions for the Wright family. Is that okay? Or
Yeah, they can.
okay, sure.
I want to ask you guys, and we were sitting right in front of you, but what were you feeling when you heard the word guilty, and what are you feeling now? Have you processed it? What's going through your head and heart right now?
Oh my gosh. The moment that we heard guilty on the manslaughter 1, emotions, every single emotion that you could imagine just running through your body at that moment. I kind of let out a yelp because it was built up in the anticipation of what was to come while we were waiting for the last few days. And now we've been able to process it. We want to thank the entire prosecution team. We want to thank community support, everybody who's been out there that has supported us in this long fight for accountability.
What did you think of Ms. Potter when she was on the stand last week?
I'd rather not answer that question.
Well, the truth be told, what do I think? I want to thank her. I'm going to keep it short.
Mr. Elton, did you expect Officer Potter, former Officer Potter, to take the stand? And do you think that helped or hurt your case?
They said from the very beginning that she was going to testify. They said in jury selection. And she expressed herself immediately after this tragic incident on the scene. So I'm not too surprised. Look, it's a lot. I think that it's a good sign that she was remorseful. I mean, what decent person wouldn't be brokenhearted and sad if they were involved in something like this? So I wish nothing but the best for her and her family. But the truth is, she will be able to correspond with them and visit with them no matter what happens. But the Wrights won't be able to talk to Daunte.
With 2 high-profile guilty verdicts this year of police, what do you think that sends a message about police accountability?
I think that juries admire police, they respect them, and they want to make sure that high ideals and standards are maintained.
I'll ask you really quick, you had even a state witness testified that they may have used deadly force in a similar situation. Were you expecting one of your own witnesses to say that, and did you think that was going to be a hurdle to overcome?
I think that you're referring to the officers on the scene. Oh yeah, so I understand what you mean. We did call them. Well, we had confidence in the law and the facts, and we were very confident that Seth Stoughton was going to give clear testimony, and he did. So I think that's pretty much what we have time for now.
Yep. Really quick, what kind of sentence do you think you'll be calling for?
A fair one. Sorry, I can't be more specific. But the main thing about sentencing is that the Wright family is going to be able to make a victim impact statement, and the most important thing may be that really for the first time they're going to be able to talk about how this tragic incident impacted them and their lives.
Thanks, we're done.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. See you soon. I'm really sorry. You can admit it.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So right now you are looking at a live feed from outside of the courthouse. There is no audio coming through the feed. This is not our stream. This is Court TV's feed that's continuing to get pumped out of the Hennepin County Government Center. They were the entity that was in charge of video from and for the trial, as well as the Chauvin trial. Set up in a very similar way with 4 cameras, 3 cameras and a switch screen. We do not have control of that inside. Right now, again, there is no audio coming in, but that is Damick Bryant, Daunte's brother, speaking next to his sister. We'll try to see what's up with audio, see if we can get it going. Again, there is no audio coming through right now, but that is the feed being piped out from Court TV. It looks like the family is now gathered outside to do a press conference outside. Again, there is no audio coming through from the Court TV side. So apologies for that. If you're just joining us, Kim Potter has been found guilty on both counts, first and second degree manslaughter. And we're going to try to see if there's anything I can do. There's really nothing we can do on the back end. They only have one feed coming through, and when they switched that feed after the press conference, they didn't give us audio. So there's not much we can do from getting the audio from this video. So what you did see, though, was a press conference by Keith Ellison and the family. And right now, you can see that they were just chanting Daunte Wright's name, if you're able to read lips. Either way, folks are gathered outside downtown Minneapolis at the Hennepin County Government Center. So if you are in Minneapolis, you can head down there, check it out. There's other people streaming. Otherwise, continue to follow our work at unicornriot.ninja. We're going to bring the stream down and do our best to actually get down there and get some media from what's happening. Wasn't able to do both of the things, run the back end and get down there, so I'm running the back end and hopefully we'll be able to get down there. That's Jeff Storm speaking right now. Again, that's Katie Wright in the middle. Jeff Storm is part of the legal team for Katie Wright, for Daunte Wright's family. And on the left with the hat, nice brim hat, is Aubrey Wright. On the way left is Daunte's sister. So, again, thank you all for tuning in. Today you saw basically history. One of the first few times that a police officer has been found guilty of a crime after killing somebody in the state of Minnesota. Kim Potter was found guilty on first and second degree manslaughter. Her sentencing is set for February 2022. She is remanded to jail. She was taken into custody. She will not be home for the holidays. You can hear her husband say, "Love you, Kim," as she was being led away. Continue to follow our feeds on Facebook, Twitter, UR_ninja, and YouTube, and our website, most importantly, unicornriot.ninja. We will be putting that last announcement up in full. 5-10 minute stream from downtown basically is what it was, reading the guilties and then talking about sentencing. So maybe it's about 15 minutes or so. So again, thank you all for tuning in. This is Nico from Unicorn Riot. If you enjoy our work and you have ability to financially support us, think about doing that. unicornriot.ninja/donate. That is how we survive in these times. Also, if you are not financially privileged, please think about sharing our work, talking to your friends and family about us, and trying to put our work out there a little bit more. We get we don't pay for ads, we don't pay for placements, we sort of depend on you all. So you won't see a sponsored post from us, but you all could sponsor our post if you wanted. No. You all take care. Have a good day. A good holidays coming up. Stay warm. Drink water. Stay safe. Keep your mask on. And we'll be back with more footage, more features, and more stories. You all have a good one. That is Katie Wright speaking right there. We don't have audio. This is the Court TV stream. So apologies for having it look like that. You all take care.